Americans use an astonishing amount of paper.
God, I haven't done this in years. Okay, let's see. I see these people, and they're all just writing stuff and throwing paper away.
Okay. And what do these people look like?
Let's see. They're wearing shorts and UK shirts.
Okay. Are you a UK fan?
Sure.
Okay. And how do we know that they're Americans and not
Right.
someone else wearing a UK shirt?
They just look like Americans.
How can we picture that?
And how can we know they're
How can,
Americans?
yeah, how can we know for sure?
They just look like Americans. So I don't know.
Is there anything that Americans do specifically? Maybe.
There's lots of things they do, but what can you see
Yeah.
that makes you know that this person must be an American? What could you see is what you want to ask.
Okay. What can you see to make them look very American?
So the reality in my head is I see people look like Americans. I don't see anything else because I'm an adult.
Yeah.
But these kids,
Yeah.
they're not going to distinguish between a European and an American or whatever. They're seeing Americans, but they're not going to know that as a fact.
Yeah.
So you've got to get around to Uncle Sam and American flags and stuff like that.
Okay.
So you might talk about the 4th of July or just some situation where Americanism comes up.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or if you were at the Olympics, because the Olympics were just on, how do you know if the person is American or if the person's from another country?
The flag.
Well, they got red, white, blue, they got flags or something like that.
Okay.
So then I'll get to these people have American flags pins on their shirts.
Okay.
Okay.
Good job. And how do we know it's an astonishing amount of paper?
Because that's a tough detail
Yeah.
to get in there. So I saw him using a bunch of paper, but I wasn't specific. That could be an astonishing amount, but I would have done the same thing.
Okay.
And I would get to, there's just tons of paper wads. The room is just full of paper wads. There's barely any room for these people. There's so much paper wads.
Okay, that's a good picture.
That's astonishing.
Yeah.
What if they don't know the meaning of the word?
Oh, they probably won't, yeah.
Just to describe what astonishing means.
Yeah, well, first you'll ask. In
Okay.
fact, if I was going to do that story, I would have asked before we started the story.
Okay.
And then you just tell them what it means. An astounding, an amazing amount, a ridiculous amount. Because you don't want him to use the word astonishing. If he uses the word astonishing in his summary, that means he's memorized that word. Because he's using a word that he doesn't really know.
Yeah.
So you want to go into that.
Okay.
I don't care about the word astonishing. I just want to know that Americans use just
Lots and
a ton
lots
of paper, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And that was pretty much
All right,
astonishing amount of paper and Americans.
next.
Okay.
Okay.
I think she's on the
very
bottom.
Oh,
Yeah.
thank you. The average person in the United States uses over 500 pounds of paper every year. So what do you see?
As a student, I would be totally confused. I don't know what to see.
Okay, well, let's just start at the beginning of the sentence.
Good idea.
And we've got the average person in the United States.
And another thing you might do is just say, well, what is the sentence saying that's important for us to remember? And then let the student figure out the important stuff. Because when he's doing that, he might come up with his own words. And he's thinking about it, so he's picturing it as he goes. So he might just have something by the time you've asked him what the sentence means. He might not know what it means.
Okay.
But if you can get him to generate what it means, he might just have it by the time he's done telling you what it means anyway. And he can just tell you a picture.
Okay, so I would say, so what do you think is the important part of this
Yeah,
sentence?
what does that sentence mean?
What does it mean?
I don't know. I don't know. I'm too young to know.
Okay. So at that point, would we then break it down?
Yeah.
Or would you just tell them the important part?
A little of both.
Okay.
So you would explain, they're just trying to tell you exactly how much paper Americans use. Do you know what they mean by an average American? You know
So-
what I mean?
So, because my tendency would be to say, well, you know, if you go back to the first sentence when they said an astonishing amount of paper,
Mm-hmm.
what they're trying to tell you here is how much is astonishing to them.
Yeah,
It's 500 pounds,
yeah. I wouldn't use the word astonishing, but yeah, you can do that.
like a lot of people.
Yeah. In fact, every time I go back over to talk about the sentence before, I always change the words.
Okay.
Every single time.
Change the words.
So that they don't get stuck on those words. Because they will. They'll memorize those words, and you can always tell because they'll be doing their summary and they will use those words incorrectly. And so you got to get it. Once they've pictured it, they've pictured the accurate meaning, they know the story. They know the facts. They don't need to. They're used to using those words as a crutch. They're used to trying to memorize what these words say. And when I study with my daughter, you try to explain an answer to her. She's like, no, I need these exact words to go with these exact words in order to define things. And the teacher never puts those exact words on the test. But she always is so worried that she's not going to know those exact words, that she wants to memorize them. So we want to get away from that. And we just want to talk about the meaning of what they're saying. So I don't care what words you use to describe it. So every time I go back over the sentence, I would say, well, this is saying that Americans use just tons and tons of paper. This sentence said, Americans use just a ridiculous amount of paper. This sentence said, remember the sentence before? It said that people in America just use way too much paper. Every time it'll be different so that it's the meaning that's sinking into their head, hopefully, and not how the author told them the meaning.
Okay. Can I ask you a question? Like, how do you manage fatigue? Because this seems like so much detail going through this sentence by sentence.
No story will take as long as it's taking us because
Okay.
we're stopping to talk about each thing.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, if you've looked at your watch and you've been doing a story for 20 minutes, it's probably time to stop doing that story and move on to something else. At the beginning, you want to do just as many stories as possible. But if there's concepts that they're just not getting, you just don't have a lot of choice. You got to stop and explain things. Mm-hmm. And also at the beginning, it's more important that they're creating images and accurate images and that they can use those to come back and give you facts. It's not so important that you finish all the stories. It's important that they learn how to make pictures of the facts. We'll be finishing stories, but at the beginning, it's just firing up the whole picture aspect of your brain. So just stop doing the story if they're getting bored.
Thank you.
The last sentence. To fill the demand, manufacturers make 12,000 different kinds of paper.
Okay, so we actually never talked about how to picture the numbers last time, so that's what I'm really confused about.
Oh, okay.
So just read it again so I can give you something.
To fill the demand, manufacturers make 12,000 different kinds of paper.
Okay, I see a factory and they're making 12,000 different kinds of paper.
Good. So you see factory, how do you know there's 12,000 different kinds?
Yeah. Well, actually, the first thing I says, how do I get to that factory?
Okay.
From wherever it was in the last picture. So
Where were you in the last
I-
picture?
I
Oh, you
don't
just
know.
with the
I never made the
average
last
American.
picture. Yeah. So I turn around. I just turn around and I'm inside a factory, and I just see 12,000 different colors of paper.
Okay, 12,000 different colors of paper. Blah, blah, blah. I don't even know what question to ask you.
How do I know that that's 12,000 and not 10,000?
Okay,
Yeah.
that makes sense.
Yeah.
So-
So I have no idea. I guess I count.
Count 12,000.
Mhm.
It's a lot to count.
It's true.
So, so if you're gonna sit there and count out 12,000, it's probably gonna take you a really long time.
Good point.
Is there another way that you can remember? Like,
No,
a very no, not at all. No other way.
I got nothing.
Okay. So, how much did they say? 12,000 different kinds.
Yeah. So
How
we
would you
need to
write that
picture
on?
a number,
Okay.
right?
Mhm.
So what would you use on here, do you think, to picture a number? It doesn't strictly depict it on here, does it?
No, because it's got weight, but we're not talking about the weight.
It's just a sign.
Okay.
Signs are for names that you don't know and numbers you don't know. And there's really no other way to do it. And of course, anytime there's numbers or letters in a picture, it's a sign. And so I would see the number 12,000. I see it just sort of at the top of my picture, 12,000.
Okay, and can you write 12,000 for me?
1, 2, comma, 1, 2, 3 zeros.
Good job.
The only thing I would change about that is not letting my number be superimposed
At the
over the
top of
picture.
it.
Okay, because it's like,
I want it to be integral to whatever the number refers to. So the way I really see it is I saw sort of a bracket around all those, just looked like a mile of different kinds of paper. And above that bracket it says 12,000.
okay.
That, a lot of kids will do that. They'll try to just have a sign someplace floating around in the lower right hand corner or something. And they'll tend to lose those. They'll remember them a day or two, so they feel like they've got it, but it's a week or two that it's gone. And so that they've got this idea in their head that they can just memorize all that stuff, but it just doesn't last long enough. So your sign's got to be integral to whatever it's about, and it's got to be solid.
So if they had a, oh, sorry.
No, go
If
ahead.
they had a sign and they just like slapped it on one of the machines, that's fine. Because it's right there.
Well, yeah, if as long as that machine is making
Right
all
in their
12,000
face.
different
Okay.
kinds of paper. So we don't want to think there's 12,000 machines. It's 12,000 different kinds of paper.
Okay.
So
So what if they picture something that really, that they can't weave into the picture they already have? Like, let's say that the kid said, oh, I got, I don't know, and they wouldn't really say this, but what if they had like, I don't know, a flyer or a postcard or a mailer or something from the factory, and it said, we make 12,000 kinds of paper, and I'm gonna remember it by looking at that mailer that says we make 12,000. So how does,
I would
how
look
do you
up from
get
the
them to put
mailer and
that
I would
in
see the factory.
so
Because-
do you tell them that, or do you, like, if they say, I don't know how I can put that in my
Oh,
picture,
I
how
would
do
say,
you connect, how do you help them connect the picture that they have, and it's a good one, I mean,
Right.
it's, I mean, it's not really, but if it were a really good way to remember, but it wasn't naturally connected to the picture they'd already done.
well, first you try to think about the fact that it is a good picture. And why is it good? What can we keep from this? What do we need to change, add, or whatever?
Okay.
Because we got to make a sign. He's got a sign. There you go. Perfect. It's on a piece of paper. How do we picture this as 12,000 different pieces of paper other than just what it says? What would 12,000 different kinds of paper look like? He might make that flyer turn into a stack of 12,000 different kinds of paper. He might see the factory. He might see the paper blowing around. But the fact that he has that piece of paper, that's good. You just need some reality.
Okay,
Because if we could just memorize what's written on a piece of paper, once you wouldn't need to picture anything. You could just.
okay,
So whatever he has, you take and then you mold that to fit the facts and to make it in a picture, a meaningful picture.
okay.
All right. I don't know what time it is. Should we do another one?
10 minutes.
All right. Let's do another one. Kathleen doesn't have to do one. It's not fair.
Far in the north of Japan, the people enjoy their long, cold winters.
Okay.
What do those words make you picture?
Do what?
What do those words make you picture?
No. I'm in Japan and it's really cold and everyone's wearing fur coats and there's snow everywhere.
Awesome. I can see that it's winter and people are cold. How do you show that you're in Japan?
There's Japanese people everywhere.
Great. What do Japanese people look like? I don't know if I've ever seen them.
I'm going to tell you exactly what a student told me. They look like Chinese people. If that's helpful at all.
Great. I can see that. Well, how do we know we're in Japan and not China?
Exactly. It's great doing so. Someone knows how to do it. She's got an answer for everything. Okay. I see the Japanese flag.
Awesome. Can you tell me what that looks like?
I have no idea.
Okay. Well,
You could make up a flag.
I was just going to say, do I just draw the flag?
Yeah. I would just go with that. I would just make up a flag.
Okay.
Okay, I'm seeing a white flag with Japan written on it.
Okay. Well, great. Let's write the word Japan on your flag.
There you go. Japan.
What letters, what color were your letters when you were in Japan?
Red.
Red, good
Because
choice.
now I remember what the flag looks like. And that's going to happen a lot too.
Yeah,
I've had kids who swear they've memorized all the flags of the world. And you're like, okay, what's Brazil's look like? They have no idea. But then you do a story about Brazil, and all of a sudden, oh yeah, it pops back in their head just as they're talking about things.
okay. Where do you see the flag?
It's sticking in the snow, just like right in front of me.
Okay, and are the people near the flag?
Yeah, they're just all over it.
When I go on to ask you, how do you know that they're enjoying their winter, cold winter, and they're not miserable?
Yeah, I would. But now I see them like having snowball fights and building like igloos and stuff like that.
Can you see their faces?
Yeah,
Do they look happy or
yeah,
sad?
they're laughing and stuff. But you know, I didn't see their faces until she asked. Didn't see it. As soon as she said, I was like, oh yeah, I focused on their faces. They're all smiling and stuff. So it's nothing. A lot of times, I felt like I saw it, but until she actually asked that question, my brain didn't really go to that spot and see that they're actually happy. Yeah. Want to do the next one?
Each winter, they have a snow festival and make giant statues out of ice and snow. So, what does that make you picture?
So this is, well, the interesting thing about this is the each winter part. So for a little kid, I'm not going to worry about that. For an older kid, I might have to ask, how do you see that this is each winter? This happens every winter. It doesn't happen in the summer and all that stuff. So in that situation, I would say, you know, I see the years going by really fast. I see it getting warm, and then it gets cold again and warm. And every time it gets cold, I see this festival happen. If it was a little kid, I would just go right into the festival. I just turn around and I see there's a bunch of carnival rides, and you know, it's like at a school when they have a carnival, and there's like Ferris wheels and stuff like that everywhere.
And then what else do they do at this snow festival, did it say?
Well, what did it say?
It said, and make giant statues out of ice and snow.
And they called it a snow festival, right?
It says
Yeah.
each winter they have a snow festival
So,
and make giant statues out of ice and
Yeah.
snow.
so I've got a kind of a festival, but is it a snow festival?
Yeah, okay, so,
So first I would say, yeah, great. What makes it look like a snow festival? And then I would, I don't know, make piles of snow everywhere, or have more people having snowball fights or something like that. But then, yeah, the focus is these giant statues, which I don't have anywhere in my picture. And all the stuff I have seen, really, I don't really need that so much. I need just these statues. So I would really focus on that too. So once again, if he was an older kid, you'd be asking what makes it look like a snow festival. For a younger kid, you'd be focusing on the statues. And he might have a sign that says snow festival or something like that too. Because a younger kid might not be able to get that concept from a fair or something like that. And then I would just have them building these huge statues, and in reality, they're probably going to picture them out of ice. Or they might just picture giant snowmen or something like that. And once again, for a little kid, that's fine. For an older kid, you'd want to talk about what a snow statue might actually look like, as opposed to just a big snowman. Is that the last sentence?
no, there's.
Okay, then I'm going to go with the little kid. So I'm seeing a giant snowman. I'm seeing a bunch of giant snowmen, and all these people are building.
How big are they?
Another great question. I see them about the size of my house. They're as tall as my house.
That's really big, that's good. And they're made out of, and so
Snow.
they're color, they're
They're white.
White.
They're snowmen. Giant carrots sticking
right,
out.
giant
of them.
snowmen. Cool, very good.
Frozen monsters, animals, and story characters take shape in city parks. Should I say the last sentence? It's just a little short one.
Well,
I could kind of go with it.
sure.
Some of them are over 30 feet tall.
Okay. For a little kid, I wouldn't have put those together because that last one's going to have to deal with rulers and all that. For an older kid, I'd probably have done the same thing. What, if there was a word in there in that first sentence you just read,
Frozen monsters, animals, and story characters take shape in city parks.
I don't know what that means, take shape. Or a kid might not say that, and I might say, okay, I see this park, and it's become the shape of a monster. because I'm not going to tell you that I don't understand. I'm just going to do my best to make you happy by making this picture.
So the parks become the shape of a monster.
Mm-hmm. That's what it said, right?
Well, it said in the city park.
Oh, in the city parks. I mean, I'm confused. Can you read it again?
Sure can. Frozen monsters, animals, and story characters take shape in city parks.
So I might just flat out tell you, okay, I don't know what take shape means, or I don't know what that sentence means.
Okay.
But I might just repeat my picture or come up with another bad picture. So what are you going to have to do?
I guess explain take shape to you, just like astonished or
Yeah.
whatever.
Or just
astounding.
reword it. Just say what they're saying is the people are making big statues of monsters and stuff.
Gotcha.
Could you connect it to the sentence before
Mhm.
and say, let's read the sentence before and see what they were doing? They're making giant statues, so maybe
Mm-hmm.
those statues are monsters?
Yep.
Animals?
Yeah. Because you've got to explain what it means. He doesn't know what it means. You can't make a picture of what something means if you don't know what it means, and all we're picturing is the meaning. So you got to tell him. But I think the best way is to just rephrase the sentence, because once again, he's going to try. If you don't go through this, and if he, and a lot of times they'll do this, they'll make a picture that matches. You know, you'll hear the words, the picture matches, but he's still making a picture of the words. And when he does his word summary, that's when he'll come out and he'll say, you know, the people take shapes of monsters while they make these statues. Because he wants to use those words, take shape. They must be important, because I don't know what they mean. They got to be important. And you don't find out until then. So you've got to sort of be proactive about that. And as soon as you can tell by his pictures, he's not really sure about this. You just want to make sure he's sure. Because you don't want to waste all this time picturing and questioning on something he doesn't understand. Because he's got to understand it to make a picture anyway.